Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell button to receive all new updates like the video, and write in the comment what information you want to know so that I can share it in the next video. Welcome to today's special segment where we dive into the heart of our solar system, the sun. You know, that big ball of fire in the sky that we can't stop staring at? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone you try to look at it directly. I'm your host, Ellen DeGeneres, and today we're going to explore some mind-blowing facts about our very own star. We're talking about the kind of stuff that makes you go, whoa, the sun does that? Get ready to have your mind blown wider than a solar flare. So buckle up, space cadets. We're about to go on a wild ride through the cosmos, and trust me, you don't want to miss this. Okay, so first things first, what exactly is the sun? I mean, besides being incredibly bright and making us sweat sometimes. Well, get this, it's a star. I know, right? Mind-blowing. And not just any star, it's a G-type main sequence star. Now, I don't know what all those fancy words mean, but I'm told by the smart people, the astrophysicists, that it's a pretty big deal. Apparently, there are different types of stars, like a cosmic menu or something. You've got your red giants, your white dwarfs, and then there's our sun, hanging out in the G-type main sequence category. It's like the Goldilocks of stars. Not too hot, not too cold, just right for supporting life on Earth. Thanks, sun. Oh, and did I mention it's mostly made of hydrogen and helium? Imagine a giant ball of gas, but way cooler, or should I say hotter? I mean, we're talking thousands of degrees here. Don't worry, we'll get to that part later. But seriously, a giant ball of gas? It's like something out of a science fiction movie, except it's real and it's keeping us all alive. Talk about responsibility. Now let's talk size, because when it comes to the sun, size definitely matters. Picture this. The sun's diameter is about 1.39 million kilometers. That's like a lot of kilometers. To put that into perspective, you could fit over 1 million Earths inside the sun. Can you imagine that? A million Earths. It's like comparing a beach ball to a grain of sand. Actually, it's even more extreme than that. And the sun's mass? Don't even get me started. It's 330,000 times the mass of Earth. That's like all the elephants in the world, times a million, times 1,000, and then some. It's mind-bogglingly massive. But here's the thing, even though the sun is huge, it's actually considered a medium-sized star. That's right, there are stars out there even bigger than our sun. Can you believe that? It's like finding out your neighbor has a swimming pool bigger than your house. It's just not fair. But hey, we're not complaining. We're happy with our sun, even if it's not the biggest one on the block. It's still pretty impressive if you ask me. So, we've established that the sun is big, like really big. But have you ever wondered where it gets all its energy from? I mean, it's been shining for billions of years, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Well, get ready for this, because it's pretty amazing. The sun generates energy through a process called nuclear fusion. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I'm told it involves smashing atoms together at incredibly high speeds. It's like the ultimate game of atomic bumper cars, except instead of bumping, they fuse and release a tremendous amount of energy. Think of it as the ultimate power plant, but instead of burning coal or oil, it's fusing hydrogen atoms into helium. And the byproduct of all this fusion frenzy? Light and heat, you know, the stuff that makes life on Earth possible. It's like the sun is this giant cosmic reactor, constantly churning away and providing us with the energy we need to survive. And the best part? It's a renewable energy source. As long as there's hydrogen to fuse, the sun will keep on shining. Now, if only we could figure out how to harness that power here on Earth, we'd be all set. Okay, let's talk temperature, because things are about to get hot, hot, hot. The surface temperature of the sun is a scorching 5,500 degrees Celsius. That's like 9,932 degrees Fahrenheit. To put that into perspective, that's about 100 times hotter than the hottest day ever recorded on Earth. It's so hot that even the most heat-resistant materials we have would melt instantly. Imagine trying to bake cookies in an oven that hot. They wouldn't just burn, they'd vaporize. And don't even think about getting a tan on the sun. You'd be toast, literally. But here's the crazy part. The surface temperature is nothing compared to the sun's core. That's where the real action happens, with temperatures reaching a mind-blowing 15 million degrees Celsius. That's like 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. It's so hot that it makes the surface temperature look like a cool summer breeze. It's like comparing a hairdryer to a volcano. There's just no comparison. Now, you might think that the sun is just a big ball of fire, but it's actually much more complex than that. It's got layers, layers, just like an onion. But instead of making you cry, the sun's layers will make your mind explode. First up, we have the core, the sun's beating heart, where all the nuclear fusion goes down. It's like the engine room of a giant spaceship, powering everything else. Then there's the radiative zone, where energy is transported outward in the form of radiation. It's like a cosmic game of hot potato, but instead of potatoes, it's photons. Next, we have the convective zone, where hot plasma rises to the surface and cooler plasma sinks back down. It's like a giant lava lamp, but instead of lava, it's superheated gas. And finally, we reach the surface, which is actually made up of 3 layers: the photosphere, the chromosphere, and the corona. The photosphere is the layer we see from Earth, the chromosphere is a thin layer above that, and the corona is the outermost layer, visible during a solar eclipse. It's like the sun is wearing a cosmic coat, with each layer serving a specific purpose. It's a complex and fascinating system, and we're still learning new things about it all the time. So we've learned a lot about the sun so far. It's big, it's hot, it's got layers. But where do we fit into all of this? Well, let's just say we're lucky to be a safe distance away. The sun is about 93 million miles away from Earth. That's like really, really far. To put that into perspective, if you could drive your car to the sun at a constant speed of 60 miles per hour, it would take you over 176 years to get there. And that's without stopping for bathroom breaks or snacks. But even though it's far away, the sun's gravity is what keeps Earth in orbit. It's like an invisible tether, keeping us from flying off into the vastness of space. Thanks, gravity. And of course, the sun provides us with the light and heat we need to survive. Without it, Earth would be a frozen, lifeless wasteland. So yeah, we owe the sun a big thank you. But even though we need the sun, it's important to remember that it's a powerful force of nature. That's why it's important to protect ourselves from its harmful rays by wearing sunscreen and avoiding prolonged exposure. Now, you might think that the sun is just this constant ball of light and heat, but it's actually a lot more dynamic than that. It goes through cycles, kind of like our moods, but instead of feeling happy or sad, the sun expresses itself through sunspots, solar flares, and coronal mass ejections. Sunspots are like little dark freckles on the sun's surface, and they're actually cooler areas. Don't be fooled though, they're still incredibly hot. It's all relative, right? Solar flares are sudden bursts of energy that erupt from the sun's surface. They're like the sun's version of fireworks, but instead of pretty colors, they release intense radiation. And then there are coronal mass ejections, which are massive eruptions of plasma and magnetic field from the sun's corona. These are the big kahunas of solar activity, and they can cause some serious disruptions here on Earth. The sun goes through an 11-year cycle of activity, with periods of high activity marked by more sunspots, flares, and CMEs. It's like the sun's way of letting us know it's still got it. But don't worry, scientists are always monitoring the sun's activity, so we'll have plenty of warning if anything major is headed our way. Plus, Earth's magnetic field acts like a shield, protecting us from the worst of the sun's outbursts. So we've learned a lot about the sun's personality, but what about its history? Well, buckle up because we're going way back in time. The sun is about 4.6 billion years old. That's older than dirt. To put that into perspective, if the sun were a human, it would be eligible for retirement several times over. But even though it's ancient, the sun is still going strong. It's about halfway through its main sequence lifespan, which is expected to last another 5 billion years or so. That means we've got plenty of time to soak up the sun's rays, study its secrets, and maybe even figure out how to harness its power for ourselves. But what happens after the main sequence? Well, that's a story for another time. Let's just say it involves red giants, white dwarfs, and maybe even a supernova or two. But for now, let's just appreciate the sun for what it is. A giant, glowing ball of gas that makes life on Earth possible. It's the star of our solar system, and we're lucky to have it. And there you have it, folks. The sun in all its glory. I hope you enjoyed this sunny journey with me. We've learned so much about our nearest star, from its size and temperature to its layers and activity. Now, let's see what our audience thinks.
Clapping. Wow, that was amazing.
Clapping. So much fascinating information.
Clapping. I never knew the sun had so many layers.
Clapping. I love learning about the solar flares.
Clapping. Thanks for the great info.
Look at them go. They're just as excited about the sun as I am. Thanks for watching and remember to wear your sunscreen. You don't want to end up like a burnt marshmallow, do you?